open man. Bazley three. That time he knocks it down from the corner. That time using the right hand, scooped it up and in.
Welcome, everybody. It's great to see you guys again. We've got a new face this time around. Paris Lawson, our Thunder Digital reporter, is joining us this time. And guys, we've talked a lot about just the best team performances from the 2019-20 season so far. Big comebacks, incredible performances as an entire unit. But we also want to get into some of the very best individual performances as well. And one of them came early in the season, sixth game of the year. It was rookie Darius Bazley's sixth ever NBA game, and he had a coming out party with 17 points, 3 of 6 from 3, and 5 rebounds too. This was in a win over the New Orleans Pelicans at home. And Paris, let's start with you. Let you get the first word. This was early in your NBA career as well. What do you remember about this home win?
The one thing was definitely Darius's performance, and you mentioned it, 17 points. But what really stood out to me in watching this was his sixth game in an NBA jersey on regular season. And I saw him sprinting the floor in transition, really understanding the intangibles of the game and the value that they bring. Like when he sprints the floor in transition, runs his lanes, gets to the corner early. And I'm thinking in the end of the first quarter when Chris gets all the way to the inside of the lane and kicks it out for Darius for a 3 at the buzzer. That was an opportunity that he probably wouldn't have got if he didn't sprint the floor. And so for me, that was a learning point for me to see that, you know, Darius really does understand the little details of the game and does them consistently.
Yeah, just to pick up on what Paris was saying, I completely agree with her. You know, the 17 points is what stands out and got Darius kind of the player of the game in that win. But this was a game without Steven Adams. It was a game against the Pelicans, a team that gets up and down the floor. They didn't have any fast break points until midway through the second quarter. And one of the reasons why is, as Paris was saying, Darius running up and down the floor. There was a great sequence there where he missed a 3. He was the first guy down the floor, slowing down the fast break of Josh Hart in blocking his layup attempt. I think that was very emblematic of what we saw from Darius. Now, to kind of complement that, he had some good decision-making. He was planted out behind the three-point line consistently throughout the game. And that's always one of the things that Billy Donovan talks about, the decision when to pass, when to dribble, when to shoot. And he was very, very prudent in that decision-making in this game as to when to shoot the 3, when to drive. He was very effective in both.
Well, you know, Paris, whenever you start your career in any level, high school, college, pro, it's always this going on. You know, you're like a deer in headlights. I mean, you're just frozen. And I thought, you know, with that being his sixth game, the thing I was most impressed is that he was so cool, calm, and collective for a guy that didn't go to college, you know, had a scholarship to Syracuse, elected to do an internship with New Balance. And all of a sudden the next year he's in the draft and he's playing his first, you know, what I call consistent minutes, 6 games in. That's tough, man. Because sometimes, you know you're going to start or you know you're going to play a certain amount of minutes. And sometimes, Paris, I've talked to you about it too. You get pressed into service by default. And this is one of those nights, especially you mentioned no Steven Adams. And you remember that game also, New Orleans got into foul trouble early. So the Thunder were trying to experiment with that 3-guard lineup, but outside that 3-guard lineup of Schroeder, CP3, and Shea, you still had to try to figure out something with the small forward, you know, the bigs, and then here come, you know, steps up Darius Bazley. He knocks down big threes, he spaces the floor, and he has what, you know, we'd always like to say, a coming out party.
Had a couple really nice drives as well, finishing with the right hand. Michael, as you're saying, back at this time of the season, I think a lot of Thunder fans thought they were going to be seeing Darius Bazley across the street at Cox Convention Center playing for the OKC Blue, not in the nightly rotation for the Thunder. So I think this was maybe a little bit of an invitation of what people were going to see to come throughout the course of the season. And during the year, he was really, outside of when he was injured, in the rotation night in and night out, about 4.5 points a game. One of the rookie leaders in terms of rebounds per game. And I'm just curious from you guys' perspective, beyond that one breakout game against New Orleans, what stood out to you about Darius, his performance throughout the course of the season?
Hey, Mike, you remember your rookie year?
Yes,
Nah, none of us can. That was too long ago.
I have to Google it, but I still remember it.
Anyways, no, I think there's a certain youthful exuberance to what we saw from Darius Bazley this year. Nick, as you saw, he's just 19 years old. And I think that he brought that on a nightly basis. His job was never to score the basketball this year. His job was to just assimilate into this team, assimilate into the NBA, just 19 years old. And I thought that what Chris Paul said about Darius at the beginning of the season about this is a guy who's come in and it doesn't look like he skipped a beat and missing a year from college. And he came in and on a nightly basis did the things that Billy Donovan wanted him to do. Stay aggressive, play defense, run the floor, rebound the basketball, and just sort of get his feet under him at the NBA level. And it was fun to see on a nightly basis just his energy. It was a nice mix that he added to what many thought was kind of a veteran group with CP, Adams, and Gallinari. So that youthful exuberance that we saw on a nightly basis, I think was fun to watch.
To kind of piggyback off you, Chris, I mean, for me, what I've seen is he calls himself the spork, right? Like he can do a little bit of everything. He can shoot, he can drive, he can pass. And at 6'8", that is so useful and such an asset to the Thunder coming off the bench and just providing some length. And what Darius, I think, has done a really good job of this season is just being at the right place at the right time. Like I mentioned, sprinting the floor, staying spaced on drives, and just being that extra length on defense to cause some disruption, I think has been really, really good. And he's done a good job of being consistent with that.
That's right, Paris. I think when you make a transition, from high school to the NBA, there's a lot coming at you. The game always, Fish, we've talked about, has the game slowed down for him? I think for him, he as you, both of you just said, he showed you a little bit of everything. He can shoot the three. He knows how to space. Working on defensive positioning, because a lot of times, understanding weak side defense, that's tough, man. I mean, that's a tough read for anybody, even guys 6 years in. I think he showed that, look, the potential was there. And we saw, him getting better and better weekly because this team was changing weekly. Guys were getting hurt. There was no, this was a new roster, 8 new faces, 8 returning faces. I thought he couldn't have walked into a better situation. He took advantage of it when he was a starter. He had a nice little run there before he got hurt. I thought it was a solid rookie year for him in which he can build. I mean, in your rookie year, all you want to do is just show him what you can do, a little bit of something. And I thought he showed him a little bit of a lot of things that we're going to look forward to next year.
The exciting thing for Thunder fans, I think, and Billy Donovan has pointed this out multiple times, is Darius doesn't maybe necessarily have a defining NBA skill quite yet, but he's so young that through his development, one of those very good skills that he has is going to emerge into a great one. And, obviously, guys, we do not know whether there's going to be an NBA playoffs. I'm sure Darius was looking forward to getting in there in the postseason in his rookie year. But just projecting forward, Mike, what do you see as maybe a potential elite skill for Darius, or where he projects in terms of a long-term NBA profile?
Good question. Good question, Nick. I played with a few guys, and I've been thinking about this. One guy was Derek McKee. I really compare him to guys like that. David Benoit. I don't know if you remember him. Google those folks. You're going to find out a little bit about him. Put those two together. You got the potential, I think, for Darius Bazley because he can play defense. He can use his length. He can run the floor, all the things that we've talked about here. He's only going to get better. And I think that as he continues to accept that challenge, and I think, the system that he's in with Billy Donovan's system, it's just going to allow him to flourish. And Paris, being a former ball player like I am, all you want is opportunity. And he's gotten that opportunity. And Paris, he'll continue to get it.
Absolutely. You know what else he'll get is more confidence. And we've talked about this a lot, is that when you're in this rookie season, you're going to have the first everything, right? You're going to have your first game, your first time playing the Pelicans, first overtime game. And the more you get through these, the more confidence you build. And I think this game against the Pelicans was a little microcosm of what we could see from Darius when he continues to build that confidence. You remember, he was missing his few first shots. And during that time in the season, we remember Chris Paul saying, when I give you the ball, shoot the ball. I'm giving you the ball for a reason. That was a big vote of confidence from one of the best point guards in the league. And so when you see him build this confidence, you see a lot more offensive production for him. And I think that this game was just a little illustration of that.
Yeah, we were all pretty disappointed when he went down on February 9th, right? I mean, not just because he was an important piece, but because of his development. And we saw the importance of him on this roster, and his versatility, like you guys have talked about. I mean, that's the modern day NBA right now. Are you versatile enough to stay on the floor and not get exposed on one end, whether it be the offensive end or on the defensive end? And I think that he showed enough in his rookie year that he can build off going forward. The thing that excites me the most is his ability to be a playmaker from the perimeter, his ability to put the ball on the deck, which we saw at times because he was never afraid to make a play. I think that was one of the most impressive parts about his game at just 19 years old. And to be able to build off of that going forward in the modern day NBA, I think is going to be exciting.
You mentioned the youth, Chris, and just to bring us full circle here, Darius became the youngest Thunder player to ever score in double figures in that win over New Orleans, 19 years and 143 days old. Just a couple days younger than Paris is right now, I think.
I wasn't born in the year 2000, so I got him on that.
But I know that we all and Thunder fans are very excited to see what Darius has in store for all of us, whether it's later on this year or coming down the line. It's been fun to look back on his year so far. Thanks for joining me, guys.